and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about all of my winter favorites. I don't think I have a lot of stuff compiled here, but here are some of the recent favorites that I've collected, and I'll also be talking about some of the media that I've been loving. So of course I have my cozy socks on. They're so cute. There's like paw prints on the bottom of them. So I hope that doesn't distract you guys. But anyways, I have my coffee here with me as well, so I am ready to dive into everything. If you need to, go grab a drink and let's cozy in together. Okay, I have everything on the top part of this rack here. Let's first start off with, I guess, the most eye-catching thing in this tray. This is a plant that I have been absolutely loving. This is not a new plant, but I've been loving it so much because it's growing in the shape of a heart. Like, do you see the two little fuzzy strings? It looks like a heart, and I've just been watching it every day, every morning, look like a heart. And I'm just like so amazed by the fact that it grew into somewhat like a heart. Even the little ends are like trying to like conjoin together, and I just found that so fascinating, and I'm so in love with this. Maybe the plant's also in love with me, because like maybe this is like the plant giving me a heart and being like, you're being a good plant mother. So yeah, I don't know, this is so random, but this has like made my day for the past couple of months. Also started off as like a teeny tiny baby plant, I think with only like maybe like 2 or 3 leaves, and I've had this for about a year now, and it's grown into this absolute beast of a fern, so I'm very happy with this. And then next up, let's talk about all my skincare favorites. I think I'm gonna have to throw them all out on the bed here, or else I'm not gonna be able to remember them. Okay, I think this is it. There's not a lot, but these are some of the things I've noticed that I've been gravitating towards the most. So first up is the Rhode lip balm. This is in the shade Raspberry Jelly, and I've been loving this color. So I first started with falling in love with the color PB&J, but I kind of realized that brown tones don't suit me too well. So if I don't have a tint of color below that wash of color, that brown wash of color, it doesn't really look that good on me, and I feel like it doesn't really brighten my skin. But with Raspberry Jelly, once I put this on, even without anything on my lips, it like definitely just brightens up my face. I think I'm a more cool tone person, and so I think this suits me a lot more. I also been enjoying using lip balms a lot more than applying lip colors. I don't know if it's because of the season, or like I'm just lazy and I don't want to put so many layers of products on my lips. I've been loving just having lip liner and then just putting on a tinted lip balm instead of putting on like, I don't know, a tint, a lipstick, and then a gloss on top. So I've just been using this every day, all the time. And like whenever I get up to go somewhere in the office, I always grab obviously my fob, my key card to get in and out of the office, and then my phone, and then this is the third thing I grab, because yeah, sometimes lip balms feel like emotional support, you know? Like if you don't bring your lip balm out, normally your lips get chapped, but if you bring your lip balm out, your lips don't get chapped and you don't actually end up using it. But when you do forget it, your lips get really chapped and you really need to use it. So always bring a lip balm with you is my motto. And I've also been really enjoying using face mists, but I still haven't really found one I completely and absolutely love. So this is the Rhode Glazing Mist, and I really like this after I do my makeup in the morning to set my face and also to give myself a very dewy glow. I think this is also great for refreshing your face. It gives a bit of moisture to your face that I find really helpful, especially in the winter when my face normally dries out a bit more and looks more dull near the evenings, and so I just spray this and it helps a lot. But one thing I would note is that it does make my hair a bit oily, because when you spray it gets all across your face and like your hair. So how I've been spraying this is I like put my hand on top of my forehead like this, and then I spray my face, because especially since I'm still trying to grow out like my little bangs, these bangs get really oily really fast, and so doing that kind of helps minimize the oiliness. And then the second one that I've been using is this PURCELL 24/7 Colostrum Pore Defense Ampoule with Pixel Biome. Wow, that was a mouthful. But I find that this is a bit more mattifying. It's not as hydrating, but I use this normally when I'm in the office, also to kind of hydrate my face because it has hyaluronic acid, but also as a way to kind of de-oil and like deglaze my face. I find that after I spray this, my forehead and my T-zone looks a little less oily because it's so much smaller than other face mists that I've bought. Like, look at the size comparison. I find that this is a lot easier to carry around, and so I just throw it into my little Glossier pouch that I have in my bag all the time, and I just use this whenever I feel like I need it, which is most days around 3 to 4 p.m. Yeah. And then last but not least is this tiny little bottle of Moroccanoil treatment. So I've used this in the past, but I've never bought it. This was gifted to me by my hairdresser when I went to get my hair done, which I don't know if you can tell. There's a lot more layers in my hair, which I really appreciate, because I felt like before I get layers, or when I don't have layers, whenever I curl my hair, it looks super heavy, and I also have a really thick hair type, so my hair is a lot heavier, like it looks heavy, and so without layers, my hair just looks like a block. But anyways, that's going off the point. I really like the Moroccanoil hair treatment. Like, I think it's the smell. I really like the scent. It just smells really cozy. It smells like cozy, warm. It almost smells like something you would be able to smell at a spa, and it just makes me like go like, ah. Like, it gives me that like sigh of relief. I don't know why. Could someone explain this? Like, does anyone else get that way when they smell this? Because like, maybe it smells like something that makes me relax, and that's why I like the scent so much. But I haven't figured out what it is yet. But either way, I'm really enjoying this. I'm currently using in big bottles the Divine Oil hair oil, but I don't like that scent as much, so I might be converted to the Moroccanoil one now, but we'll see. And of course, how can I make a video without talking about, or I guess bragging about, the things I knitted? But to be fair, these really are the things I've been gravitating the most. So this is the Sophie scarf that I knitted with alpaca wool, I believe. Yeah, I think it was alpaca wool. And I love this scarf so much because it's so handy and it's so easy to wear. I just tie it around my neck, and it's also not heavy or bulky, so when I'm feeling warm or when I need to take it off, I just take it off and shove it into my bag, or I shove it into the pocket of my long jacket. Or I just shove it into the pocket of my long jacket, and it's easy to take around with me, but it also keeps me warm. It genuinely keeps me warm, which is the most surprising part. I think because once you start covering your neck, it already helps your body kind of regulate the temperature a lot better than if you don't have your neck covered. So it doesn't even matter if it's like a thin layer. But this is not really thin. This is like pretty warm because it's alpaca wool and it's knitted. Yeah, maybe I'll show you guys. Though I'm pretty sure you've seen me wear this like 1,000 times in my vlogs, if you watch my vlogs. But yeah, I just tie it around my neck like this. Sometimes I put it in the middle for almost like a scarf or like a necktie vibe. And then sometimes I shift it to the side and it looks a little bit more chic, I feel like, when you shift it to the side. Because then the bottom part doesn't take the focal point of your frontal view as much. So yeah, I've been loving the Sophie scarf, and it's also super easy to knit. Like I think this is one of the simpler patterns, and it's really quick to knit up. You can definitely knit it up in a week without like frantically knitting it. If I had more time, I would definitely knit it for all my friends, but I do have a lot of projects I want to make, so I'm sorry guys. To the friends who are watching this in real life, I'll probably make it for you guys next year. Maybe hold me to that and remind me of that, but I'll get it to you guys someday. So I don't have a claw clip here to show you guys, but normally I just pull up my hair in a claw clip and then I just put it around my head. I look really stupid right now. And then I just tie it at the bottom, and it doubles off as a bandana, and it also keeps my ears warm. When I have jackets that don't need neck protection, I like put this on my head to cover my ears, because my ears also get really cold in the winter. And so yeah, love the Sophie scarf. And then of course I made myself mittens the other day, or I guess like 2 weeks ago. I have a vlog up of me knitting them if you're interested in watching that process. And so these are not the same size because I just completely eyeballed them. Like, I kind of follow a pattern, but I was also like just type B knitting it. So they're different sizes, but because they keep my hand warm and they do the job that I intended them to do, I am so happy with them. I also love that they're so colorful and bright because most of my long jackets or my winter jackets are in black, and so I feel like this gives a pop of color that is much needed in the winter. It brings a bit of joy, and also I think just a bit of color in the gloominess of the season. Also, it's helpful because people recognize me when I'm walking towards them because these are bright. These are super bright. Is what they look like. So this is what they look like. They're super warm. I knitted them fingerless because I did not want to spend the time knitting individual fingers. But at the same time, this does a really good job of keeping my hands warm because normally I find that as long as my palms are warm, my fingers are okay, especially if I like scrunch up my hands like this when I'm outside. Also, I like that my fingers are free so I can like hold things or like quickly text someone if I'm trying to meet up with them. Like, I just like having my fingers out, and this keeps my hand warm. Or like sometimes I just like shove my fingers in there and it looks like, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like I'm like Iron Man right now showing you guys what I'm doing. But yeah, this keeps my hands warm. I love it. The last item that's knitted is this merino wool top that I just started, but why I wanted to include this on the list is because I love knitting with lace weight yarn. I love knitting with merino wool. Like, it's so satisfying knitting with merino wool. It just like glides off your needles, and also I think it like doesn't hurt my hand because it's so easy to hold. Like, when you hold it, it doesn't feel like there's any weight on your fingers, and like you don't have to like have your hand very, very tight. Like, you don't have to hold the needles very tight or hold the yarn very tight because there's no weight to it, essentially. I feel like knitting with merino wool and like lace weight yarn is just so satisfying. I think it's also because of the fuzziness. The fuzziness feels really nice to knit with, and it's like this little halo that it gives is just so fun to like work with and see, and yeah, I'm obsessed with it. Speaking of my hobbies, we have to talk about my favorite book that I've read this probably like the past 3 months, I think. So this is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I don't know why I'm holding the book like this. Okay. This was an unexpected favorite. I feel like most times when I'm reading classical literature, I read it with a very academic / like educational lens. Like, I feel like a student kind of understanding why classics are a classic and trying my best to analyze them and to absorb them in a more academic and intellectual way rather than kind of being fully immersed in the story. I guess an example would be with a lot of Jane Austen's works. Some of her contents and language use is more difficult for me to understand because it's not colloquial modern English, and so it takes a bit more effort to kind of dig through the language and meaning to figure out what exactly Jane Austen's trying to say or kind of what she's trying to portray. But with Charlotte Bronte, I didn't feel that at all. Very early on, I was already fully immersed within the narration of this story, which is also narrated by Jane Eyre herself, like the main character protagonist herself. So being able to hear the story from her perspective was also very fun to read because she's a very witty and very blunt and very strong-willed character, and so she was a character I deeply respected, and I think because of that, I found her narration absolutely wonderful to follow along, and I thoroughly enjoyed this book. And as you can see, I made so many annotations in this novel, and it just goes to show how much mental stimulation this book provided me. I also loved the language use in this book. Charlotte Bronte is just able to paint such beautiful and vivid imagery. When I read, I have almost like a movie reel going in my head, and that movie reel while reading this novel was just so beautifully crafted. And now let's move on to clothing / like accessories. So I love wearing Sheertex. This is not sponsored. I just like wearing their tights during winter because I love wearing dresses and skirts, as you guys probably know. So I always have to wear tights underneath them in the winter because it gets pretty cold here. Tights are a must for me in the winter, and I find that Sheertex has been the best tights I've worn. I also really like their like semi-sheer tights. They're opaque tights, but this doesn't really work in the dead of winter. But as of right now, I can still wear like semi-opaque tights and not be like freezing cold. And then another thing I've been loving are these Geox heels that my boyfriend got me for my birthday. So me and my boyfriend do this thing where we give each other presents way too early. Like my birthday's in the middle of December, but he gave me this gift now because we just have a problem with like holding off giving each other presents. It's probably not that great, but that's what we do. And so these are these beautiful kitten heels that I've been wanting for a while, but because I have so many shoes, I never feel justified to buy myself more shoes. But I don't have low heels, and I've been wanting to look a bit more professional and put together doing work. And I also know that with heels, it's kind of a learning curve. Like you have to kind of train your feet to walk in heels, and I kind of want to get started on that before I actually have to wear heels on a day-to-day, or like I feel like I need to wear heels on a day-to-day, because I do want to get into law. And I don't know, there's just like I hold a lot of importance in the way I present myself, and I feel like the way you present yourself gets you where you want to be. Kind of like the if you believe it, you'll make it kind of mindset. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But anyways, yeah, these are the heels I've been loving. Just slingback kitten heels. These are pretty comfortable, but I once wore them to transit. Like I wore them while heading into the office, and that really hurt my feet because I was carrying. So when I go into the office, I carry a ton of stuff. Some of my friends have grabbed my bags before and they're like, what the heck do you bring into the office? Like, why do you have so much stuff? But yeah, my bags are really heavy, so wearing these during transportation did hurt my feet. I also have flat feet, so that doesn't really help. But when I was in the office, these are super comfortable, and I like that they don't fall off my feet. A problem I have with heels, especially if they're stilettos and they're a bit higher, is that the front of my feet have to like claw onto the shoe to make sure that my feet stays in the heels, or else the heel might like slip off and I'll just like trip. But these ones are very comfortable and they stay on my heel because of the sling back, and I can pull it a bit higher up onto my feet and also adjust them if I need to. And so I really like that about these shoes. Okay, I think we've now moved on to the miscellaneous items. So I'm going to start off with candle. I think I talked about this in like my favorites video from a year ago, but this is still my favorite. This is the fresh baked bread candle that I got off Etsy. I still love this so much. It just smells like bread. And I love smelling bread, and this is like a very cozy, warm, the bread just came out of the oven scent, and I love this so much for the winter. I put it on every night, and it just makes the house feel so cozy, and it makes it smell like someone's been baking food. And this is also a soy wax based candle, which I believe a lot of people say it's a bit healthier for you, but I do use a candle lamp so I don't burn this directly. But yeah, I love this so much. I'm gonna have to order more so I don't run out of it, because if I run out of it, I'll be very sad. This has been like my emotional scent, like emotional support scent. And then last but not least is porridge. This is really random, but I've been trying to eat breakfast. Like I've been actually trying to eat breakfast every morning, and I find that eating porridge is the easiest. I just stick this in the microwave and then I just eat it, and I get food in my system before caffeine, and so I don't starve. And also I think it's probably better for me to eat breakfast every morning. And so yeah, I just got this from H Mart, and I find this super easy and super yummy. This is kind of random, but just wanted to throw this in there. Now let's talk about media that I've been loving. The first thing I wrote down on the list is Christopher Waltz's interview with the podcast / the YouTube channel of The Last Meal. He gets a list from his guests on what their last meal would be, and then he conducts interviews while they eat that last meal. And Christopher Waltz's interview was so eloquent, and the first thing I wrote down here in all capitals is philosophy. Yes, he talks about philosophy in such a insightful way, and such a reflective and ruminated way that it was just such a joy to listen to him talk about kind of his perspective on life and kind of his approach to acting. And there's an eloquence about the way he talks, makes you like hang on to each and every sentence that he says. And I think that's a very admirable skill, and it shows you kind of how much he has thought about his life, and kind of the way he phrases things are very carefully thought out, and he seems like a person who kind of explores his own thoughts and oftentimes dwells on these kind of more abstract concepts, and that's why he's able to verbalize these ideas in a very eloquent way. And one thing that I particularly noted down was he talked about uncertainty and contradictions as inevitable and an important part of life. He mentions that having challenges is the necessary motivation to push yourself and to improve. And I think one particular quote that I really liked and I noted down here is, "If you were unconditionally happy, you would be stupid," which I found really funny, but at the same time, when you think about it in a more philosophical and you like dwell on it a bit more, it makes a lot of sense. It kind of ties into that idea of ignorance is a bliss. There's a lot of different quotes out there, but it also ties into that saying of like, the more you know about something, or the more knowledgeable you are, the more you realize the less you know. Did I say that right? More knowledgeable. The more you realize, the less you know. Why does this sound so weird when I'm saying it? The more knowledgeable you are, the more you realize that there is less you know. I think you guys get the point, but I don't know why it sounds really weird when I'm saying this. Am I saying this right? Maybe I'll write the actual quote here. But I just found that interview such a joy to listen to, and it deals with so much philosophy on kind of self-improvement and what the value of life is, and hearing him talk about it with the interviewer was so fascinating, and I loved it. I loved that interview. I think I'll go listen to it again. But yeah, moving on. The second thing that I have listed here is Service 95, which is Dua Lipa's book club where she talks to authors about their works. It's a very casual conversation, but it's very insightful to how authors generate their ideas, and it also goes into their social commentary or kind of their thoughts on contemporary society, or what they were trying to do when they were writing their novels. And all of the novels that are spoken about in this podcast / YouTube channel is very, I want to say heavy, but I don't want to say heavy, like very complex books, like books that deal with complex and very layered ideas. And so one of the ones I listened to is Dua Lipa talking to Margaret Atwood, who is the author to The Handmaid's Tale. Hearing her talk about why she wrote that book and how she came up with those ideas was so fascinating, because I think one thing she said was that originally when she wrote the book, she didn't think the ideas that she was writing in the book would still be relevant. She thought that those were issues that were in the past and not necessarily relevant to future generations. But yet we now see that these themes and ideas are still relevant in today's age. And like just hearing her talk about that was very fascinating, and it kind of makes you realize and it makes you remember how much power literature can have, and how literature is able to kind of hold up a mirror to society and reflect ideas and themes that are relevant in both past generation to today's generation, and how words can always shift and be relevant to the contextual time depending on who the audience is. So I'm trying to say that literature is timeless in a sense. That was a very long-winded way of saying literature is timeless. But yeah, that's a podcast I am listening to quite often, and if you guys enjoy like literature commentary and social commentary, I would suggest you to check that out. And lastly, let's talk about music I've been listening to. So the first song that comes into mind that I've been completely obsessed with is Rosalia's new song Bergehan. I didn't know she sang opera until this song came out, but after I heard that song, I was like jaw dropped, like in awe. The amount of care and thought and like the amount of layers in that song is crazy good, and I was just in awe. Yeah. And then I've also been really into listening to Kate Bush, especially when I'm like reading on the sofa with like all the lights off, but just a candlelight on. I just have Kate Bush blasting in the background while I like knit or something. It makes me feel like a Victorian woman just like knitting on her own in her own cozy room in the most like independent and feminist way possible. What I'm trying to say is that Kate Bush's songs make me feel like the protagonist or the main character in a Jane Austen novel, and I really enjoy feeling that way when I'm like cozy at home. Another playlist I've been loving is Tame Impala's songs. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Tame Impala? But I've been loving Dracula, as everyone else is, and I've also been loving the song Elephant, and I've also been loving the song, I forgot what the song is called. I think it's called My Way. I've also been really enjoying that song. Those are the 3 that I have been listening on loop. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my current winter favorites, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know what your current winter favorites are. I'd love to hear what you guys have been loving, especially if it's media or books or knitting related. Just let me know and I will definitely reply to you guys, and thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!